it's me again. I am going to be talking a bit about my sickness, and then if I have time, I will talk about something else. If I don't have time, then we'll go on another video. You really didn't need to know that, but I thought I'd tell you. Basically, I am not actually sick, I have no illness, I am not dying of anything, I have no disease, I have no infection, I have not got a virus, so on and so forth. My sickness is something a little bit more geeky than that. Basically, I absolutely love, adore, I'm obsessed with books. So much so to the point that if I read a book years ago and I've read it and I don't own it, I'll buy it. Not to read it, but just to have it on my bookshelf to be like, look, I read that book, even though I read it like 10 years ago and the book I read isn't the book that I own. Like, same. That's a cool book. So yeah. And another thing, for example, I bought Eragon, which is an amazing series, Eragon, Eldest Bazinga Inheritance. Movie sucks. Absolutely sucks. And the book that I bought was when the movie came out, so it was the movie cover. So I read it, loved it, bought the other ones, very happy with life. In fact, I'm pretty sure I bought Bazinga instead of buying school shoes, and my mum was raging. Because I'd like read it and I couldn't get it back. And yeah, so I basically had this movie cover of a book that I absolutely loved but hated the cover of. And I was just like, oh. So I gave the book to my brother and bought Eragon again in the same cover that matched the other ones, the dragons, because they're pretty dragons. And my friends, some of them just think this is absolutely insane, because why would you buy a book you already have for another book that's the exact same but just in a different cover? I just don't like it not matching. And another example of not matching is my True Blood series. I read True Blood quite unaware of what I was quite getting myself into. It's okay, I'm not thrilled with it, it's not the best series I've ever read, in fact it's getting completely bizarre. It started out with vampires, I could deal with vampires, we got into shapeshifters, could deal with that a wee bit, we got to fairies. I don't really know how I feel about the fairies. But basically, the first one that I bought was this one, and this is 3 books in one. I really hate books that are 3 books in one, because if I want to read a book, I don't want to be carrying another 2 around with me. If this was one book, I'd be completely satisfied carrying that around. I have many books that are just as big and heavy and horribly, like, chunky as this, right? But I don't like 3 books in one. In fact, I was at Waterstones and they had a Charles Dickens set with 7 books in one. I was just like, that's unnecessary, just one at a time. Anyway, so this is the first 3, and then I got maybe up to the 10th one in these covers, right, with the TV series people on them, 1 person to each book. I could cope with that because they all matched and that was fine. And then we got onto this one, which is a kind of mini story that isn't an actual story, it's just mini stories, and that is also really strange, in a different cover from the other 2. And then we got onto these ones. Hardback. The rest of my paperback, this is hardback. It's the TV series again, but it's got all of them on it. Not just one, but all of them, and it's bigger than all the other ones. And then we just decided to completely throw Sense out the window, and these are the ones that started coming. I pre-ordered them all, by the way. Not all of them, pre-ordered the last 4. So I just kind of get what I'm given. And they're all this similar. Like, this is the only one that's similar in size too, but and actually, like, the shelf kind of goes like all black, grey, kind of dark, mysterious vampire books, and then just like, go! It's so weird and strange. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other examples of my sickness that I can think of. Because I'm really, like, I do not mind buying used books at all. Like, in fact, it's cheaper. I understand the purpose of buying cheap things. So even though there's books that I rebought, like Eragon, I bought a used one that was like 2 pence or something off of Amazon. So I'm not, there's some people I know that can't read a book that someone else touched, because that's just, to me, I don't really care about that because it's cheaper, and sometimes it's nice to get books that have been loved. And in fact, on it, it's just better value. Like, I went to a library the other day and they were selling some of their books off, and I got 3 books I wanted for 20 pence each. Like, that's amazing. I haven't even spent £1 and I own 3 books now. I was so happy. And Another example of why I like used books is because some old school books are so pretty. And my friend, someone gave her a book that she already owned, and she gave the new one, well, it's not technically new, but it's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and look how pretty it is. It's just so pretty. Like, oh. So yeah, so I have a sickness with books. Since the last time I made a video, I've read 4 or 5 books about that. And actually, I've been reading like lots of kind of like children's ones that I ordered, and they're like really, really thin, but I've read a lot of them, so I think that counts, even though they're like 30 pages long. But there's 10 of them, so that's 300 pages, so that's going to count as one book. In fact, I'd probably count that as 2 books. It's 2 books. But yeah, but I read The Phantom of the Opera, 2 John Green books, Looking for Alaska and An Abundance of Catherines, Mr. Stink by David Walliams. That's what I read. Currently reading Terminals, which is kind of rubbish. That's another book that like you start the series off and you're like, okay, I can deal with this, and then it just gets weirder with each book. But you're already invested in the series because you started reading it, so you're like, okay, I must keep reading because I've started. I don't like starting a series and not finishing it. I really don't like that. But it's just gone really strange. Really odd. So that is my sickness. I am obsessed with books. I love books so much. I have books on that shelf that I've never opened. For example, again, the His Dark Materials series by Philip Pullman. It was my brother's books that I read of that, and he went and lives in South Korea now, so I stole them because he wasn't taking them, and they were just going to sit in a box in the house. So I was like, my bookshelf. And but he'd given Northern Lights, which was the first one, to one of his friends, and I can't have a series sitting on my shelf that's not finished. So I was like, I had to buy Northern Lights. I'm never going to read, well, I probably won't read it again, but now I have it. Sitting pretty. Apart from the fact it has a different cover, that makes me a wee bit sad, but I don't care too much about that. Even though I did look for the first cover first. And the other thing that made me sad recently was the Series of Unfortunate Events, which is 13 books long. Fantastic book. Really, really enjoyed them. Apart from the fact it never does get better. Despite being warned by each book that I've read that it's not going to get better, I still really hoped it would get better, and it just didn't. But I only have the 13th one of that series because that was when I only ever got books from the library because I was 10 and could afford 5 books. So I only have the 13th one, and I went to a charity shop, like just full of books. It was only books in this charity shop, and they had the 1st to the 12th. So meant to be, but it was like $3.50 for each book. 12 books, $3.50. I can't afford that. So I'm quite sad, but I like books lots. So now you know. I am going to be talking in my next one about Game of Thrones and The Hunger Games. Kind of 2 recent books series worth talking about. So yeah, tune in for that exciting series. And again, I'm not actually sick, I just have a sickness. That makes sense. Bear with me. Okay, so I will see you later. Bye!